Okay, Pattie Belle, I am so excited to have you here on the podcast.
I am so honored to be here and thrilled to be talking about these things with you because I am absolutely passionate about money, money issues, compassionate communication, and all of those things that weave together around it. And the
Yes,
somatic pieces.
right.
We can't leave out the somatic pieces.
Exactly, exactly. And you and I have had a lot of a lot of conversations over the last couple months about like how deep some of this goes.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
yeah.
so let's get right let's talk about how you work your magic with people. Like what is it that what's the essence of your work?
Okay, so I am a hypnotist. And, people talk about limiting beliefs or whatever, but very often we have no idea what those actual limiting beliefs are.
Yes.
So my process takes you under the hood, like way under, like into the subconscious or the superconscious or the higher self, etc., to find those things that happened this life, other lives, whenever, that lodged in that we can then release. And I'll
Hmm.
give you some concrete examples of that
Yeah.
later. I'm not going to go into that right now, but I take a hypnotic approach to the money work. There's also homework. There's also very tangible things that we need to do. Um, I do not use the A word, ABUNDANCE.
Okay. Tell
I
me about
talk about prosperity and flourishing,
that.
right?
Okay. Yes.
And uh no, it's like very much about the mind and the body and not about magical thinking or
Yes.
that kind of thing. Although we can bring ritualizations and practices into our money work, that's not generally where we need to start off. So I found
That for you, Patty Belle, I'm interested in that. Like, why don't you use the A word? And you're part of the reason why I'm so attracted to your work and excited to like have this conversation with you is because you're very grounded. Like you're so no bullshit grounded, and you are also very magical, right?
yeah, 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 yeah.
Right? So it's like very witchy, very magical. That's all part of it, but it's so grounded in the practices,
Yes.
in this very, very deep work. And so like, yeah, let's sort of debunk for a moment a little bit of that, of like what we see in the industry in money healing that you're not about.
Yes. Okay. So um there's a lot of talk about the law of attraction and
Yes.
manifesting, and that
Yeah.
is so not what I'm about.
Yeah.
um Law of attraction, abundance, manifesting, there's lots of people covering that territory.
Yeah.
To me, there are many, many layers, embodied layers, family layers. The family money history is like its own thing. I
Yeah.
mean, what we
Yeah.
pick up from prior generations,
Yeah.
from,
Yeah.
that epigenetic money trauma,
Yeah.
so there are a lot of things going on there, and I'm very much about casting the light into the shadows of money work,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not about positive thinking. We have a lot of difficult, uncomfortable emotions that we need to process and move through
Yes.
and release, and chastising ourselves about positive thinking and not being an abundance magnet or manifestation, whatever it
Right. Right.
is.
Yeah.
To me, it's so much more complicated than that. And from all of the trauma research, the body keeps the score, van der Kolk's work. uh we have a lot of stuff in here we need to get loose, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And the
Yeah.
shadow side, like I love how you said casting the light into the shadow. Like what you said at the
Yes.
beginning about like beliefs, like we're not, you can't do mindset work or belief work if you don't even know what beliefs you're holding in your system.
Yeah.
Like that's what my
Right.
experience has been like, oh, I didn't even know that I was
Hmm.
believing that. It's
Yeah.
just so in the back of
Yeah.
our awareness.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And that's why I really like the hypnotic work, is that with the right guidance, you can go in and, release some of, recognize, like a lot of times it's things we didn't even remember
Yeah.
happening,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Or it could be inner child work, or it could be parts work, or it could come up and appear in so many different ways, right? Um, so casting the light into those, casting the light into where we hold shame around money, where we pick that up from our families, etc. All of that is really, really important. But the bomb I dropped on you, and that I want to share with the viewers or listeners, is that money is not a need. Yes, let me say that again.
Take that
Money
in.
is not a need. And you're out there going, what are you talking about? I need money. I need it now. Well, actually, money is a strategy to meet the need. And
Mhm.
that's really what I want to dive into today, because meeting our needs, oh my gosh, that is freedom. That is liberation, meeting our
Yes.
needs, right?
Yes.
So what I'm weaving together here originated with Marshall Rosenberg's nonviolent communication and his 4-step process. And I'm going to weave that in with some of the somatic stuff, because that was the piece that Marshall really didn't, recognize or work in. Like,
Yeah.
we are bodies, we are human bodies, and we have these feelings in bodies,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So when I say that money is not a need, it is actually a strategy to meet a need. We're going to kind of dig into that a little bit. And we'll do a little role play so that you can see how this process works in your daily money life, right?
Yeah.
Because money is a part of our lives.
Yeah.
And it is an excellent strategy for meeting many, many, many of our needs. It's not the only strategy, though.
Mhm.
And if we look at it, if we can separate it off from being a need to being a strategy, then we can really process the feelings, the shame, the guilt, the whatever it is, the uncomfortable baggage that we're carrying around money. So we're going to make this little workbook available to everyone that walks you through this process, but we're going to do it together so you kind of see how this works. And in this packet, the first thing we have, actually, I'm not sure what order this is, but let's talk about the real needs, the universal human needs
Yes.
first.
Yes.
And there's a rather lengthy list of universal human needs. You won't see money on here. You won't see control on here.
Mm.
There are a lot of things that you won't see. You won't see a house. You won't see a car, right? You won't even see necessarily transportation. That there's actually needs underneath that. What you will see is shelter and
Yeah.
safety
Yeah.
and security, right?
Yes.
So when we look at the needs around that, then we can say, okay, what kind of strategies can I use? What strategies are available to me to meet these needs?
Yeah.
And I really like the compassionate communication, sort of like the basic underlying belief is that we're just all trying to get our needs met.
Oh, yeah.
We're all humans trying to get our needs met. Some of those are very effective strategies that we use, and some of those are very destructive strategies we use, but we're still trying to get our needs met.
Yeah.
The burglar is trying to meet some kind of need, right?
Yeah.
So that's not effective, but well, in some cases, I guess it could be. So let's dig into like an example of this.
Okay.
First, we're going to look at feelings.
Wait, but you said that universal human needs. How many are there?
Well, this is not like the definitive list. This is as definitive as I was humanly possible of getting it.
Yeah.
Right. But I'm going to guess that they're like about what, 250 on here
Okay.
ish.
All right.
Ish.
Okay, cool.
And those are adventures, celebration, creativity, diversity, equanimity, self-connection, self-expression,
Yes.
those sorts of universal human needs. So then when we're not getting those needs met, whatever those needs are that we're having in the moment, then we have a whole list of feelings when needs are not met. And these are the uncomfortable feelings: anxiety, dread, fear, foreboding, antsy, alert, alarmed, those sorts of things where our body, our humanness is telling us there's a problem.
Yes.
There's a need that's not being met, right? So there's no bad emotions. There are no bad emotions. It is wisdom from our being, our body, that is sending us signals that there's a need that wants to be met that's not being met. And that could be met by somebody else, or it could be met by ourselves. It could be met by culture or society or government or however, right? Those needs need to get met. And then there's a sheet with feelings when needs are met. So these are ones like rapturous, thrilled, engaged, self-connected, satisfied, relieved. So we can really kind of feel and see and hear the differences there.
Yeah. Yes.
And then I have a list that really nobody else has, that's combining these things, and that is a list of sensations.
Oh, yes.
Yes. So sensing what we're feeling in the body gives us information that we can use in making our life better, right?
Yes.
And having a vocabulary for these sensations: expansive, faint, fiery, flaccid, paralyzed, parched, right? All of those are sensations that we experience in the human body, and they give us information. They help indicate, what our needs are. And I'm not gonna pretend like I've always been aware of these things. I only started my true somatic journey when I was like in my early to mid 30s. So this has developed over time. I just didn't, automatically know these things. I had to work through this stuff. I still have to work through this stuff. It's not done. It's never done. So I'm of a certain age where I grew up in a part of the US, the southern part of the US, where women didn't have needs, and there were only 3 emotions: mad, sad, glad, and only one of those was acceptable, right?
Yes.
So when I first started this work about 10 or 15 years ago, the nonviolent communication, compassionate communication work, I was like, I don't have any needs. I had to work my ass off to unpack, where that was and what were my needs. I had no vocabulary for needs, right?
Yes.
So, this has been an unbelievable enlightening journey for me it's just changed my life and my relationship to everyone in it. So with the sensations, that informs how we interpret and understand our feelings. And if we think about all those body terms, like I've got your back, right? That's safety and security, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Support.
Yeah.
That support, safety and security. That knocked me off my feet, ungrounded, right? I'm not able to stand, it's like, so we have all of these parts of language that are worked in that tie the sensory into those basic human needs, those universal human needs.
Yeah.
So that gives you the outline. Now, the 4-step process, and I'm going to add the sensations in here, right, to one of the steps. The first step of the process of determining what our needs are, and then working through, figuring out how to meet those needs. The first step is objective observation. And that is like a movie camera is recording it without judgment, analyzing, comparing, or advising, right? So without judging ourselves, if this is a self-reflection process, or without judging others. And I've got an example of that tied to money, because we're going to really focus on like the money piece of this, the money work of this. So the first one, in an observation without judgment. All right. So the observation with judgment. Oh my God, I do not have enough money in my bank account to pay my rent.
Yeah.
That's an observation, that's making a judgment. I don't have enough, and then it could turn into self-blame, shame, fear, terror, all of those feelings of need not met, need not met, need not met.
From there.
Yes. Yes. So the observation without judgment or analyzing or comparing or any of those things would be, my bank account has $1,225 in it, and my rent is $1,500.
Right.
That's
very
the
neutral,
observation,
just the facts.
Right? That's the observation. Then we can look at the feelings and say, I feel fear, I feel anxious, I feel insecure, I feel all of the, and you can locate it. It's like, oh, I have this tightness in my gut. Oh, my chest, it's hard to breathe. Oh, my neck hurts, or I'm getting a headache, or however it's showing up in your body, right?
So step 2 would be feelings and sensations.
Feelings and sensations. Yep. So what's the observation? I just looked at my bank account. That's the observation. I'm having feelings, big feelings and sensations. And then immediately, self-compassion is what is really, I guess that would be, a mini step in between figuring out what your needs are then under that. So that self-compassion, they're there, PB, they're there. It's going to be okay. Just, ground yourself, or let's drink a glass of water or something.
And even in that, Pattie Belle, there is the meeting of needs, right? Of just the soothing, like just to soothe your nervous system. And get a glass of water. Do you need to sit down, right?
Yes. Right. Yeah. This is not a process that needs to be rushed. So, once we get those feelings out, and in this case, there's a worksheet, you can write them down: anxious, fearful, stomach churning, whatever it is. Then we can start to look at that universal needs list. And because we're doing rent, I already know this one's pretty clear. For some others, it might be a little more, it might be a need for beauty or a need for this or need, other more unusual or complex needs. For this one, the need is pretty clear: shelter,
Yes.
safety, security.
Yeah.
Right. So if we just start there with the, I don't have enough in my bank account to pay $1,500 rent, and I'm feeling these things, and my needs are safety, security, and shelter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we do, as humans, need shelter. So once we go through that, the first 3 steps, and then we're like, oh, all right, so this is really about my security, shelter, and safety. Then we can start looking at requests or strategies or solutions to the issue around money that we're having, right? So on the worksheets, the way that I've written it out, when I see that I do not have enough money in my bank account to pay my rent, I feel anxious, insecure, and worried because I need and value safety, security, and shelter, right?
Yeah.
So, and the reason that these exercises are in here so that we can actually use these for anything. We can use them for relationship issues. We can use them for parenthood issues. This helps us start to recognize how we can communicate better, frame things better, meet our needs better, meet other people's needs better.
Absolutely. This is gold.
So then, once we have hashed all that out, we've gotten ourselves into a place where we're calm enough to think through some strategies or requests or then we've got the worksheet that starts with the need, right? Because I need or value shelter, safety, and security, I can meet those by, and in this situation, we can, come up with all kinds of different ideas around making up that, what,
$300
to cover rent, right?
Yeah.
So I can meet those needs and values by selling something, by taking on a roommate, by during the pandemic, we saw this huge, massive movement of people back in with their parents.
Yeah.
Or other family members.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
It was imperative.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I can make a request of myself that I look more closely at my budget and how I'm using my money. Yeah. Now, the requests that we make of ourselves, there are a few things that we want to do. We want them to be specific, realistic, and time-bound.
Yeah.
So let's say I had enough money earlier in the month, but oops, I went out a lot and spent a lot on eating out, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I just say, if I make a request of myself that I'm not going to eat out, that is not specific, realistic, or time bound. All right.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
I am going to, get the groceries and make a meal plan and, prep out the next week of food. So I'm not tempted to eat out, that I have everything ready. I can have somebody over if I want to eat some of this with me. Right. So that's a specific request of self.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Love it.
So that's in a nutshell how this process works. Right. So in this, we're learning, one, a vocabulary of our feelings. We're learning to sense them and experience them in our bodies. We're learning how to articulate our needs that are underneath those feelings, having a vocabulary and an understanding around those, and then more clarity on how to get those needs met, whether it's making a request of, our partner, or, our child, or our colleague, right? Being able to frame a request of them to try and meet a need, and also having more strategies to meet our own needs.
Yeah.
Right. When someone else is not capable of meeting a need.
Exactly. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. So any questions about this? Or do you want to role play another one?
Let's role play one.
Okay, let's role play one.
Yeah. Where do you want to start?
Think about, sorry, I got something in my eye. Think about a recent experience with money that you don't mind sharing with the public.
Yeah.
And it can be pleasurable or uncomfortable, either one.
Yeah, I'll share that, when I was in Costa Rica, I paid for everything in cash because, there were international transaction fees that I wanted to avoid, and in some cases I couldn't avoid them, so sometimes I had to use my debit card. So that made me feel uncomfortable. And then also like getting charged more at the car rental place, for example, because I have a debit card and not a credit card. So instead of having a $500 deposit, I had $1,000 deposit. So yeah.
Okay. Excellent. So let's see if we have the observation. Because you were using a debit card and not a credit card, you were being charged more up front for the services.
Yes.
Which is totally whack and doesn't make any sense, but
right.
That's the judgment. See, that's the comparing and judgment.
And as you're saying it, I'm remembering that I was feeling in the moment was this sense of like, there's this shame that comes up for me that is like, I'm noticing and I'm feeling it, and it's so interesting because I know it's not true even as I'm feeling it, but it's like being marginal. It's like being on the outside. I'm not part of society because I don't have a credit card, and I don't get to I don't do the same things or wield money in the same ways other people do. That's a choice that I've made based on circumstances that I've had. And at the same time, there is a little bit of something still sticky around that for me.
So shame, you feeling some shame. Where did it show up in your body? Do you remember?
I feel like it's a little bit upper body. It feels mostly like shoulders, chest, back.
Yeah.
That's how it's showing up now too. I just feel it more here.
Yeah. So if we're looking at the needs, the human needs, I'm going to guess, and this is called empathy guessing, guessing someone's feelings and needs. I'm going to guess that your need for dignity was not being met.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that might be one of the needs.
Yeah. Yeah, I had this happen recently when I went to Montreal this year. I had it happen at a hotel where they were like, "You don't have a credit card?" And I was like, "No, I booked the reservation with this debit card that you have in your hand right now." Right? So there was like, when you say the dignity is like, yeah, there is like this questioning of like, are you legit? You know? And I'm like, what is happening?
Yes. Yeah.
I can pay for this hotel. Like, it's all good.
Let's see. I'm wondering, as I'm looking at the list of universal human needs, I'm wondering if, and you can say no to any of these. I'm just guessing. I'm wondering if, some belonging, some of
Yes,
that.
yes, belonging is there for sure. And that that is a recurring theme. That is sort of like an old wound for me. That's why
Mhm.
there is this shame that comes up. It's
Yeah,
very, very old. I know
yeah.
exactly where that shit comes from.
And when we look at these universal human needs, everybody's different, and everybody has, like, they're stronger in some areas than others.
Totally.
Like,
Yeah.
some of the ones that I have real, strength around, other people don't, and
Yeah.
vice versa.
Yeah. Yeah.
Belonging is a pretty common one, though. And especially since the pandemic, trying to get our need for belonging met is a struggle. Respect, uh, understanding, maybe.
Yeah. The dignity one just hits.
Yeah, the dignity, that was the one that jumped out to me. All right. So let's move forward with primarily dignity for this. And we're going to go to our phrases now. We're going to do the process.
Okay.
And you're going to describe what you were met with. When
Okay.
I hear,
Okay.
see.
Okay. So when I experience someone questioning the fact that I don't have a credit card, I
I
feel,
feel.
is this like my projection or interpretation, or is
No,
this really?
you feel, when I observe
Yes.
someone questioning why I don't have a credit card, that's the neutral observation.
Okay.
I feel
I,
shame,
yeah, I feel
etc.
shame and discomfort for not having what most other people have.
So you feel shame and discomfort because I need
Okay. Okay.
dignity and belonging,
Okay.
because you're getting into the comparing. When I say, because I don't have what other people, I'm not operating in the same,
Got it,
like,
got
cultural expectations that other people, it's none of that.
Okay, none of
I
that.
need belonging and dignity.
Okay. Okay. I feel shame and discomfort because I need belonging and dignity.
Yes. Yeah. Because all of that other stuff, they're thought forms. They're thoughts that we're attaching to these things that are feeding the feelings, right?
Got it. Got it. Got it. Okay.
So, because I need dignity and belonging, I can meet those needs and values by,
Connecting with people who love me and see me. Yeah.
yes, perhaps, crafting a statement that you use in those circumstances.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, having a sense of, I'm going to be using my debit card in a situation that usually takes credit cards. I'm going to have my boilerplate statement that I make that speaks truth to power, makes me feel, powerful
Yeah.
and strong,
Yeah.
and meets my need for dignity.
Right.
Right?
And it's like, when you said that just now, I was like, when we were thinking about strategies to meet the need for belonging and dignity, one thing that I was thinking about was like remembering why I don't have a credit card, remembering why that's important to me,
Yes.
that it's part of like my values and like choice, right?
Yes.
So yeah, that's one way that as well, right? But that boilerplate statement, I had never thought of that. That would be fantastic to just have something like, Yes, and this is why. And taka taka taka. And here it is.
You are a teacher, coach. That's your chance,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
To, educate,
Yeah.
educate,
Yeah.
right? So, what are a couple of other strategies or requests you can make of yourself?
Requests that I can make of myself.
Let's
Hmm.
see. Let's say, that one of these experiences happened. You haven't like prepared yourself for it,
Yes. Yes.
and you're in that moment. Like, what could you make a request of yourself to do when these surprise
Yes.
questionings come up?
Well, one thing that I do already do that could be part of it is just kind of like anchoring myself, like taking a breath and feeling my feet on the ground, bending my knees a little bit, and just kind of like letting myself really kind of anchor into my own body before I make any sort of, before I speak. Slowing myself
Yes.
down, coming back to myself, right? And not getting like up in my head and all anxious and right, feel the whatever nervous system reaction I'm having based on the discomfort.
Yes. Yes. Okay, great. So that is specific, realistic, and time bound.
Yeah.
So you're going to pause, breathe, anchor,
Yep.
come into your body, let those uncomfortable sensations pass,
Yeah.
and then
Respond.
respond. Excellent. Excellent. Beautiful. All right.
Yeah, that's really cool. I like this process because it, right? Like, in this process, you're removing story, right? Whenever we can remove story, right? There is more clarity. There is more like there's more opening for solutions.
Right. Exactly. And with money, for most of us, whether we have a lot of it or we have none of it, or we have what we consider just the right amount of it, it's still fraught. It's
Yes.
so fraught. It's so tied up with cultural implications. So
Yeah.
depending on what country you're in, you have different money, cultural programming.
Yes.
So, it's work that's critical. And I think that that's why you and I have both been drawn to this, and particularly as women.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We're not given a great education, great money education here in the US. This is very US culture that
Yeah.
I'm speaking from, that I have lived other places, but I don't know enough to talk about those. So, it's like, as a woman, going through divorce or whatever it is, whatever other things that we experience, there's so much to process, there's so much to heal, and it's not overnight. It's something that we have to be gentle and slow and compassionate with ourselves about. It's really, really critical work.
Mhm.
And, I think that there's so many different ways that we can approach it. And then it's like, once we are casting the light into the shadow, then we can really dig into the prosperity and the flourishing and the magic, right?
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And what are some of the common shadows that you see in the clients that you work with? What are sort of the common themes that you pick up on?
Um, because I serve a lot of artists, writers, healers,
The creative
um,
folks, creative spiritual.
creative people, a lot of creative people, not entirely, but a good percentage are creative. There's cultural programming around, what our value is,
Yes.
what the value of what we produce is.
Yes.
That's really unhelpful.
Yeah.
And, getting that cleared out of the way so that people can prosper is and everybody, I take everybody through differently because everybody has different flavors. Everybody has different family stuff around these things.
Yeah.
So, but that's one of the big ones, and especially around a lot of women, like I would say 80% of my clients are women.
Okay.
So there's a lot around gender and money
Yeah.
that has to be uncovered and healed.
Wow. Wow. And how do
Yeah.
you see, what are some of the themes there? Because like, because I feel sort of like identify as non-binary. I don't feel the gender piece as much for myself. And maybe, yeah, I don't know. I feel more sort of the class,
Yeah, I think that
cultural stuff.
I think with helping professions, caring professions that are
Yes.
largely populated by women,
Yeah.
they're not respected or um,
Value.
rewarded
Yeah,
at the
rewarded.
level of value that they're contributing to society.
Absolutely.
And I think that, we know that it shows up in the workplace. The statistics are there. Women are paid less than men.
Yeah.
And then when you add race and
Yes.
other things into that, it's even worse,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
So those, finding out that the person next to you who's doing the exact same job as you is making significant amounts of money more just because, they're male, it's,
Yeah.
it's painful.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
really painful.
That's
And there's a lot of that is subconsciously embedded in our programming, right?
Yeah.
Now, I think some of the generations coming up now are less, but, just the media, the all of the stuff that we're bombarded with,
Yeah.
can affect our understanding of value. And
Yeah.
that can be, whether we are trans, whether we're gay, whether we're female, whether we're however we identify.
Yeah.
And race. I mean, there are horrible cultural programmings, that we swim in like water.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So it really varies. I've had, clients who have uncovered in hypnosis, have uncovered beliefs that, lodged into them when they were 6,
Yeah.
about the color of their skin and their value that they didn't consciously
Yeah.
recognize in their day-to-day life.
Right.
But going to that point, and it was like, oh, this belief, settled in,
Yeah.
and I'm not even conscious of it.
Yeah.
And that's incredibly freeing when you
Yes.
can process that stuff and, meet that little 6-year-old and, let them know that, things are different and there's love and healing to be had.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Did that answer your question?
Yes. Yes. That did answer my question. No, this is good. This is good. And I love, like I mean, for such a long time, I felt such a resistance to talking about money because this idea that money is corrupt, right? That money ruins things,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
That was such a powerful driver in my life that it just kept me away from it. It just
Oh,
kept me, I wanted to separate from it.
and you're bringing in the religious now, right?
Right, right.
So money is the root of all evil.
Yeah,
And as healers or spiritual people or whatever, we're not supposed to make money.
yeah, right.
So like there's all of these energetic threads.
Yeah. And when you
But
say it so directly, that's not how it lives in our bodies.
no,
It's not how it lives in our bodies. And that's why, I wrote a post the other day about like mindset, being so limited, because it's like the way that we hold these beliefs in our bodies is not money is the root of all evil. It comes through as disgust. It comes through as like
yes,
feelings and sensations that are not words.
yes, yes, yeah,
Right?
yeah. Oh, I'm taking money from you. I feel shame.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then we dig down as like, oh, because I believe that artists, underneath all
Right.
of that is the cultural programming that artists shouldn't be making money or healers shouldn't be making, it's like I'm charging what I'm worth and I'm getting it. I'm getting paid, so it's like, oh, I feel uncomfortable. And
Yeah.
yeah,
So fascinating. So yeah, and like I
it
said,
is.
yeah, and the depth of it
Yeah,
is, right, the unraveling
yeah,
it does take time, and right, like using techniques like hypnotic techniques and really getting to that source point is so important, right? And when you're doing mindset work, and when you're doing sort of like it doesn't hit into those places, it sort of like keeps you spinning your wheels, because you're not hitting the thing. You're not hitting the source point of where, or the origin point of where these
yeah,
things live, right? So it's like you're trying to, like, I don't know, inject something into the body, and it's just like you're not getting beyond the first layers of the skin, right? Something
yeah,
like
yeah, exactly. And just pausing, like, you know, hypnosis is like the fast track
that.
into the body
Yeah,
and finding out. But let's just say that we're, working through this ourselves and oh, the stomach is tight. We can pause and we can have a little conversation. Oh, what are you trying to tell me?
yes, exactly, exactly.
Belly, what message do you have? I'm going to get real, real quiet and
Right,
listen.
right, right. And the body is very, like, it speaks very clearly.
Oh, it speaks very clearly. Yes, yes, yes. It will take you down if you don't listen to it.
Oh, Pattie Belle, this was so lovely, so lovely. And yeah, like, where can people find you? Where can people sort of like access your services? I know that you do like 3-session hypnosis sessions.
Yeah, I do
This.
3 package. Um, that's how I start. I mean, some people do more. They have lots of different things that they want to work on, but basically I start with a 3-session package. You can find me on my website at soulshepherd.love, and we can put the link in the notes. And also, we're going to make this handout available to you so you can download it and use it to, when this podcast is released, so that you'll have access to it. But I have a wonderful free hypnotic audio on prosperity and flourishing. It's only 16 minutes, and the mind loves metaphors. It's a metaphorical journey to uncover and unblock some of those limiting beliefs that you might have lodged in. So if you go to my website and sign up for my email, then you can download this audio hypnosis called Flourishing. There's a little worksheet that goes along with it. You can use it as many times as you like. But yeah, that's available to you. And I'm really excited about people getting these compassionate communication worksheets in
Yeah.
their hands.
Yes. And yeah, and like you said, it can be used for money, it can be used for anything. So it's
For
like
anything.
whatever you want to direct that energy towards, you
Yeah,
can use those worksheets.
that's
Fantastic.
right.
What a generous gift. Thank you so much, Pattie Belle.
You are very welcome. You are very welcome. This has been such an honor. And as you can tell, I could talk about this. I could go on and on. But I'm so excited to, talk about money openly, to share the struggles and the solutions
Yeah.
that we can all pursue.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You are so welcome.